Why is Bob Iger, the man who rebuilt Disney into a $200 billion powerhouse, now answering FCC questions about invidious discrimination, just as his studio's most anticipated release has become ground zero for a toxic celebrity storm? On March 27, 2025, FCC Chair Brendan Carr sent a formal letter to Disney CEO requesting that the agency's Enforcement Bureau open an investigation into the Walt Disney Company and its ABC unit, probing whether Disney's diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives cross the line into prohibited discrimination under federal EO rules. Federal Communications Commission. At the same time, Disney's new live-action Snow White remake has been overshadowed by a furious debate over its 23-year-old star, Rachel Zegler, accused by some of dragging her personal politics into the film and lauded by others as a victim of online pylons and culture war backlash. Today, we'll unpack how these two controversies, federal regulators scrutinizing corporate DI and a blockbuster movie mired in a toxic debate, have collided to put Iger in the hot seat. From Magic Kingdom to culture wars. When Bob Iger returned to Disney in late 2022, he doubled down on high-profile diversity programs like the Reimagine Tomorrow initiative, designed to advance DI across ABC and Disney Plus Fortune. That corporate shift landed squarely in the crosshairs of both fans and critics when Snow White premiered earlier this month. Online commentators seized on Zegler's pre-release remarks that the original 1937 film's love story felt weird and dated and needed a PC Snow White reboot, as proof that Disney was abandoning its nostalgic roots. Others countered that Zegler, a Latina Golden Globe winner, simply echoed a necessary modernization and has unfairly become a scapegoat in America's polarized culture wars. But this storm over casting, commentary, and identity politics would soon find its way from social media feeds into the halls of government. How a film can drag a CEO into federal scrutiny. Few realize that ABC, like all broadcast networks, operates under strict FCC Equal Employment Opportunity (EO) rules, which forbid discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, age, or gender. Federal Communications Commission. When Disney's public debate over Zegler's casting and political posts began framing DI as reverse bias, Brendan Carr saw an opening. If critics can accuse a major film of sidelining traditional employees, maybe Disney's DI programs have strayed into invidious territory. In other words, the same conversations fueling clickbait about woke Snow White could also trigger an FCC compliance review. What Brendan Carr's letter alleges. Carr's March 27 letter named specific concerns, reports of racially segregated affinity groups, leadership directives that may have disadvantaged non-DI cohorts, and the question of whether Disney's Reimagine Tomorrow schemes comply with the Communications Act. Fox Business cord cutters news. By asking the Enforcement Bureau to probe Disney and ABC, Carr is testing whether these high-profile DI initiatives, including employee resource groups and hiring targets, cross legal lines into prohibited discrimination. A blame game on two fronts. On one side of the culture war, voices like Jonah Platt, son of Snow White producer Mark Platt, publicly blamed Zegler's personal politics for the film's mixed critical reception, toe-curlingly terrible, as Observer critic Wendy Ide put it, and lower than expected box office. On the other, defenders such as film critic Kelechi Iheanacho argue that Zegler has been made a victim of culture wars, warning that women and actors from underrepresented groups routinely become targets for backlash when they speak up. Business Insider. Both factions point fingers at Disney's leadership messaging. Critics say it pandered to ideology at the expense of storytelling, while supporters charge that it failed to shield the star from a digital mob. Disney's damage control. Faced with simultaneous PR crises, Disney chose a measured public stance. A company spokesperson told Fox Business, "We are reviewing the Federal Communications Commission's letter, and we look forward to engaging with the Commission to answer its questions." Fox Business. Internally, Iger reportedly held all-hands video calls reminding staff of Disney's century-old commitment to inclusion, carefully walking back the most controversial DEI language without abandoning the broader initiative. At the same time, studio execs briefed media outlets on Zegler's talent and future prospects, highlighting her West End casting in Evita and her recent BB's Bedtime Story appearance as proof that Disney still values her star power. High-stakes fines, licenses, and legacy. This investigation is no small matter. The FCC could impose hefty fines, mandate corrective EO compliance measures, or even delay ABC's broadcast license renewals, a direct threat to Disney's most valuable distribution arm Axios. Beyond dollars and permits, there's reputational risk. If the agency finds invidious discrimination, Disney's brand could suffer a credibility hit with both conservative viewers and progressive audiences who distrust corporate lip service. What comes next for Iger and Zegler? Enforcement Bureau probes typically unfold over several months, with initial compliance letters, document requests, and possibly a public hearing. Disney will likely marshal a legal and PR blitz, submitting internal DI policy docs, witness testimony, and expert opinions to show that its programs aim for inclusion, not exclusion. Meanwhile, Zegler returns to the spotlight in Evita this summer, giving Disney a chance to pivot the conversation back to her performance and away from controversy. Bob Iger has always been known as a visionary deal-maker, but today he's juggling more than acquisitions. He's mediating a collision between culture war outrage and federal regulation. As Snow White's toxic debate rages on and the FCC's spotlight intensifies, Disney stands at a crossroads: adapt its DI model to pass legal muster, or risk a public backlash that could reshape the future of one of America's most iconic brands. When a fairy tale remake and federal regulators collide, the next chapter in Disney's story may be its most unpredictable yet.